Hello and welcome to Fernbank Science Center's The Sky this week from March 14th through 20th, 2021. Early on Sunday morning, we turned our clocks forward for Eastern Daylight Time. We have a waxing crescent moon and the first day of spring at the end of this week. Start early on the 14th with our new Eastern Daylight Time on clocks. Remember, turning a clock forward has nothing to do with astronomy or space or the Earth's rotation. It's purely a human invention. 6:30 in the morning, early on March 14th, a couple of bright planets. If you face the east, the direction where the sun rises, for you, wherever your observing point is, the two bright planets, the big ones, Saturn and Jupiter, rise within half an hour or so of each other, early in the morning. By 6:30, they're barely above the eastern horizon. If you have a really flat, dark, clear eastern horizon, you might see them. The weather this week might cooperate for us here in Atlanta, and we might be able to see some of those bright planets early in the morning. Just to make sure we remember where things are, those bright planets are near those three bright stars that we've looked at in the past, the summer triangle. Cygnus the swan with Deneb on the end of its tail, Vega or Vega in Lyra, and Aquila the eagle with Altair the bright star. If you can find that big triangle, and it is a huge triangle across the sky, it's a little higher in the sky than Saturn and Mercury. By the 15th, let's go to the evening sky. Some of the winter stars are left over even though spring is coming. Brightest of all the stars we can see from Earth at night, Sirius, the dog star. Right near Sirius are the three stars that make the belt of Orion, and down toward the western horizon, a waxing crescent moon. Sirius and Orion's belt, those three stars, two shoulder stars for our hunter, Orion, two knee stars. If you have good eyes and a nice dark sky, there's a very faint curve of stars, a drawn bow or maybe a shield between the hunter, Orion, and the bull, Taurus. There's his face. Right nearby Bull, Taurus this year, Mars is visible, and the Pleiades, little clump of stars. But we're looking at the crescent moon low in the western part of the sky. If you put your shoulder, right shoulder, in the direction where the sun sets, that's west, you'll be facing the south and able to see this part of the sky. On the 15th, the moon is just a thin little waxing crescent, and 24 hours later, the moon has moved along its orbit, and Earth has rotated once. It's a little higher in the sky, and the moon is now a little bit fatter and moved a little toward the east. Watch it at the same time every night for a week, and you'll watch the moon as it moves along its orbit and gets fatter and fatter every night. It's fun to look at the moon with binoculars, particularly when it's a nice waxing crescent moon. Just a little bit of light, not too bright to look at through binoculars. And there's a round feature, Mare Crisium, the ocean of storms. It's a very prominent feature on the crescent moon. And in these early days when the moon's just a few days old, it's fun to look for that with binoculars. By the 18th, the moon has moved even higher in the sky and is near the planet Mars. Mars has been our sort of lone planet for the last couple of months, while the brighter planets are too close to the sun or in the daytime sky. The planet Mars, fainter than it was a week or so ago, or even a month or so ago, and is still sort of a bright pinkish star. On the 18th at 9 o'clock at night, the moon is a little bit lower in the sky than Mars, but watch what happens a day later. The moon appears right close to the planet Mars on the sky, and they're right above the head of Taurus the bull. That eye star, you can find Orion, the bull's eye, Aldebaran, by following those three belt stars of Orion toward the west, takes you to Aldebaran. Follow it in the opposite direction, Sirius. Those bright stars, keep an eye out for those in the early evening because in a few months they're going to be gone completely. Earth will have moved along its orbit and the winter stars will be gone. March 20th, Saturday at 5:37 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the Earth reaches the equinox point of its orbit, the point where the Earth's North Pole is not pointed toward the sun or away from the sun particular, kind of in between. And it's for us in the Northern Hemisphere, the first day of spring. The summer constellation of Scorpius, the scorpion, long fishhook shape, the reddish star for a heart, if they have hearts, shoulders, claws, pedipalps. The Milky Way, again, if it's a clear morning and really dark, you might be able to see it. But on that first Saturday, or the 20th rather, the equinox happens on the 20th or 21st, depending on where the Earth is, what year it is. Because it doesn't take the Earth exactly 24 hours to rotate once, and it doesn't take exactly 365 days for the Earth to go around the sun one time. So sometimes we have the first day of spring on the 20th, yay, like this year, sometimes on the 21st. But as Earth orbits the sun, and please remember this diagram is not to scale, the Earth is much smaller than the sun is. And on the vernal equinox, the north pole of the Earth is not tipped toward or away from the sun, it's halfway in between. For us, as I said, in the northern hemisphere, it's the first day of spring. And for us this year, it's March 20th, 2021. Happy spring, happy end of winter, and thank you very much for listening. Please do check out Fernbank's website, www.fernbank.edu, and check our Facebook page for the Friday evening planetarium programs and Saturday science programs. Thanks again. Have a great week.